here and here. Okay, are we done? Are we set? Let's make sure we're all set. There we are. All right, we're getting set, so we're okay with that. Hello. Hello, hello, everybody. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, good evening. Good evening. Hi there, everyone. Good to see you. Hi, John. Hi, Kelly. Oh my gosh, Kaya, good to see you. Miss Julie, hi, welcome, welcome. Deb, welcome. Thank you for being here. Oh, absolutely, of course, Donna. Thank you for being here, or else I'd just be talking to myself in the corner. Hello, 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 Frank. Hello, Kimberlia. Oh, that's pretty. Murray. Hi, Jeff. Hello, Lisa. Hit my head. Yeah, there's some like really bad reporting going on right now. I've been looking through these executive orders and I'm like, wait, how did they get that out of that? I'm not sure about that. Talking to yourself is therapeutic, right, to some degree, but you know, everything in moderation, right? Oh my goodness. Southern friends are not okay. Oh my gosh. I tell you what, Sparky, I know when you are in the South and you get snow or something that could be ice, like that's it. We're done. It's over. Like everyone needs to just stay at home and not go anywhere. I know it's a rough road for you down there. Hello, Tay, good to see you. Kristen, hello, welcome, welcome. Swifty Sarah, hi, hi, hi. Don't fret, we have a constitution. We certainly do have a constitution. And after looking through these executive orders, I'm not sure everyone's read it. I have some concerns. Miss Beef Betharoni. Every time I see it, I'm like, that sounds really good. I should get some of that. I'm out of beefaroni. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome in, welcome in. So it's been a day, everybody. It has certainly been a day. It's been a couple of days. Oh my goodness. Florida has frozen over. Yikes. I wonder what's happened to the crocodiles and alligators. Yeah, I'm just wondering. No one's driving. Well, exactly in Atlanta. Oh, I can't even imagine, you know, because I'm in one of the big snow states. So it's like, man, it's just a Tuesday or a Wednesday for me. But for other people, we don't know how to deal with the heat. So I suppose that's the other piece. Like it's a dry heat down in the south as opposed to up here where you can't even see. It's so humid you can't see. Oh, thank you so much, Daniel. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. As we continue to get used to our new place, everyone, I just have to say I am so much more comfortable over here, especially lately. The last couple of days, I have been popping over to the talk to just take a gander. I've got a video that looks like it might actually go viral, and it might not now that I've said that, but I've been keeping an eye on it. And it's a video I posted a year ago, actually, so it's really interesting. But I've been keeping my eye on that and just looking around. I tell you what, Hinky, everybody, that TikTok's the Hinky, all right? We got some Hinky business going on here. Not the Arctic for a reason. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And true, isn't it? No school for the kids. Yeah, yeah. We've had, in my community, we've had late starts to give time for buses to make it everywhere because I'm out in the sticks. And you gotta be careful. You don't want the kids to freeze while they're waiting for a bus either. So you gotta be careful about that. $2? Murray, come on. You could do $2.25. You know you could. Yeah, it's gonna be a rough road. It's gonna be a rough road here for the talk. Yeah, it's getting a little hinky. So, well, welcome in. Welcome to my summer home. And tonight, everybody. All right. So the last couple of days. Let me just we'll do a little flashback. The last couple of days, we've been looking at a couple executive orders that had just come out. We looked at the new Declaration of Independence, where we are declaring independence from falling for every shock and awe moment that Mr. Trump is going to try to do. Like, I'm not going to listen to that. and we've gone through all of that, but just kind of getting ready. So we're at a point now, everyone, where I think we're ready, or as ready as we can be, to start going through some of these executive orders. So Gulf of America, that's so funny. So let's before I dive in to reading, because I will we'll go through and we'll pick out which ones we want to read. I won't be able to make it through all of them right now tonight because there are so many. But first, let me take questions. Let me say a prayer. Let me take some questions. What are the hot questions right now that you're like, oh my gosh, I can barely handle this? So let's kind of do that. Yeah, Drifter, I kind of yammer on. I'm a yammerer, so 2 hour late start. Excellent. Oh, Drifter. Oh gosh. Thank you, moderators. Working hard as always, as always. Yes, got some blue nails tonight. Okay, Gulf of America. So, yeah, Mr. Trump with his Gulf of America. And we do have an actual we do have an executive order on that, but I just have to tell you that just because one person decides to call it that doesn't mean it will actually be called that. The Diet Coke I don't know. Birthright citizenship. Yeah, that's probably the big one. That's probably the big one. I will never call it that. Oh, I love it. I love it. Not my Diet Coke. Okay, rescinded the right, the equal opportunity, right? Okay, rounding people up. Executive order is just a plan for the country, and the laws are to come later. So, all right, great questions, everyone. The repeal of the discrimination laws. Yes, okay. So I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page, and I think we are, everybody. Have you seen the lawsuits from the states for birthright citizenship? Yeah, there's several, and they had already gotten them ready, actually, before Mr. Trump became president. So just a couple things to sort out here, and then we can dive into the executive orders covering those areas. So first of all, changing the name, the Gulf of America, that's whatever. That's the rest of the world's like, you can call us whatever you want, but that doesn't mean we're going to agree to it. But one thing here that he's going into a lot are what's happening at the border, right? So we've probably all heard that people have been sent down to the border to help. These were his very first, or his executive orders today. So I've got them in order from today back to day one. And the birthright citizenship order is in here, along with lots of civil rights questions, because ending the Equal Opportunity or ending the Civil Rights Act, those have all been kind of put out there now. So let's go back. Let me take you back here to the first batch. Now, these executive orders that I'm pulling up, I'm taking off of the White House website, which means they're not numbered officially yet because they've not been put into the Federal Register. So even though they have been, they will be, at the time that they're signed, legal, but that doesn't mean that, they officially have numbers added. So I've kind of organized them from oldest to newest. So let me just get out my table of contents here. So this is a bit of a nightmare. It's reminding me a bit, actually, of the Florida docket with Judge Cannon. This is smacking up Judge Cannon right now, everyone. Because it's really getting a little bit out of control here with how they're doing that. So the very first set of executive orders that were sent out, we had initial rescissions of harmful executive orders. And I had just kind of walked through this real quick the other night when we were on, because I didn't want to spend too much time on it. But it's this one where everyone is talking about this idea of Biden's equal protection pieces being revoked. All right, it's coming from this particular order and executive order. Now, one thing to note is, again, we don't have these numbered. So it's the name of the order that you'll have to look for right now. I would say probably in a few weeks, we would have numbers on these, but we're not there yet. So initial rescissions of harmful executive orders and actions. So that's at the very top. Now, what you'll want to look for next are executive order, this label, because there are presidential actions that are being done versus executive orders. There is a slight difference. And as we go through what's happening, it's important to note that distinction, right? Our executive orders from the president typically have something to do with some kind of an executive agency changing the rules. And thank you, so unique. I appreciate that. Yeah, the toner fun. Oh my gosh, everyone. Oh my goodness, I've been shaking the toner today. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So let's take a look. Let's go through our first executive order here and kind of talking about what's happening here. So here's our first one. Again, this is the name of it. The number's not been set out. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1, purpose and policy. The previous administration had embedded deeply unpopular, inflationary, illegal, and radical practices with every agency and office of the federal government. So this is unnecessary. It's just being rude. The injection of diversity, equity, and inclusion, so DEI, into our institutions has corrupted them by replacing hard work, merit, and equality with divisive and dangerous preferential hierarchy. Orders to open the border have endangered the American people and dissolved federal, state, and local resources that should be used to benefit the American people. Climate extremism has exploded inflation and overburdened businesses with regulation. Now, you might say, why is he saying all this? And I would say, well, he apparently just wants to talk about it first because this, is just a bunch of words. To commence the policies that will make our nation united, fair, safe, and prosperous. Again, it is the policy of the United States to restore common sense to the federal government and unleash the potential of American citizens. The revocations within this order will be the first of many steps the United States federal government will take to repair our institutions and our economy. And in fact, some of this language, everyone, and I think it's because I've read all of Mr. Trump's first administration executive orders, as well as Biden's, along with P25. But this language here is clearly kind of a copy and paste of P25. So I would say, oh yeah, there you go, VC, exactly, that's what I'm saying. The Heritage Foundation, Project 25, definitely. Yeah, I do. You're right, Daniel. Well, I mean, they may have read it to him or given him, Pictionary cards. He's like, all right. So let's take a look here. There's a few things I want to point out. We'll go through each of these executive orders. So we have Executive Order 13985. So these are being revoked, okay, everyone? The first one is advancing racial equity and support for the underserved communities through the federal government. So the first one we're taking a look at here, we're like, okay, he's revoking racial equity, right? But something I want you to know is that this was put into place in 2021. So we've only had this was a Biden order. We've only had this particular order for a couple of years. So it's not like he's undoing everything. He is undoing the previous president's executive order, all right? So keep that in mind here, all right? Again, as we go through and we think, well, he's doing away with the Equal Opportunity Commission or the Civil Rights Act, those kinds of things. That is what they're talking about, is this order here. There's a few others, but this one in particular. So they're revoking one of Biden's equality pieces, all right? So 13986, ensuring a lawful and accurate enumeration and apportionment pursuant to the decennial census. And that's being revoked again. That was just put in. We've only had that in for 4 years. Next, organizing and mobilizing the United States government to provide unified and effective response to combat COVID-19 and to provide United States leadership on global health and security. That one's being revoked as well. And again, those are day ones that Biden had put into place. Next up, preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. So this is another one. Biden had put a law in, or not a law, had put an executive order in stating, within the agencies, within the federal government, we need to watch out for these things. And that's another thing too, everyone. With these executive orders, you have to keep in mind the president doesn't make law. There can be rules and some regulations that he can, go on about, but these aren't laws. So if you were to take a look at this, preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation, if you look that up in the code, you're going to see the Equal Rights Amendment, right? So that's the code. And he is revoking Biden's piece saying we're going to prevent this kind of discrimination. So you can see how those could cross each other. But a federal statute cannot be revoked by the president of the United States. He doesn't have that power, right? The Equal Rights Act that was passed under JFK, the only way to undo that act is to bring a lawsuit that goes to the Supreme Court, which has happened many, many times. And the Supreme Court has affirmed the constitutionality of the equal rights legislation, or Congress would have to come in and propose something revoking it. You cannot revoke a civil rights amendment or an equal protection amendment by going after this little bit here by Biden, okay? So I really want to make that really clear to everybody, because the media has got this out of control. In my opinion, they're saying, well, he's just overturned the Equal Rights Act. He's overturned the Civil Rights Act. He's taking back all of the protections for equality. That's just not true, everyone. It's just simply not true. It's not within his purview to do that. So a good way to remember whether or not he can revoke a particular law, first, isn't it an executive order? He can revoke all executive orders that he wants. He can go all the way back to the beginning and revoke. And in fact, on one of his executive orders, I think they wrote the wrong section. I was like, that's not the right section of the code, people. Right? So he's got that, sure. Or presidential acts. So those are kind of the two roads he can go down. He can't come in and just pull legislation. He cannot do that. That's outside of the realm of his power. All right. So I really want everyone to remember that. He cannot revoke that. So this is probably the piece that the media is talking about. That's why I bring it up here. All right. A lot of this language also is what we've been talking about in P25, that he's wanting to, whatever he did today. Yeah, no, I'm going back to the beginning so that I can pull out like some of the biggest misunderstandings here. All right, here we go. Next up, everyone. So we have this executive order setting out the ethics commitment by executive branch personnel. Of course, anything regarding ethics can be pulled. Again, this was written in 2021, protecting public health and the environment and restoring science to tackle the climate crisis. So, right, we know anything involving the climate's also going to be cut, but we also have only had this order in place for a couple of years. We survived without it before, is what I'm trying to say. Here we've got here we go. Executive order. This one, revocation of certain executive orders concerning federal regulation. So again, that's what I'm talking about. There might be a few federal regulations in here and they'll list them out. This is kind of the lazy way of catching some of them and saying we're not going to do those anymore. Here's another one, revision of civil immigration enforcement policies and priorities. So there are when you have someone who's kind of leading the executive branch, they can put in and say, hey, I want you to kind of enforce it this way. And so this executive order, oh, thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate that. Oh, they're dancing. I love that. So, again, it's like, well, I'm telling the people that, work under me that I don't want you to do this anymore. Perfectly normal. And in 2021, only a few years old. Again. Next, we have ensuring an equitable pandemic response and recovery. So, of course, we got to get rid of that. We're not supposed to have that anymore. Oh my gosh. All right. So here's another one, establishing the COVID-19 pandemic testing board. That's gone, but we've only had it for a couple years. 2021, improving and expanding access to care and treatments for COVID. That's been revoked. protecting worker health and safety, that's been revoked. Let's see, supporting the reopening and continuing operation of schools and early childhood education providers. And this one has been revoked, but I think it's so specific to COVID that, we're not going to really see much change with that. Oh, thanks, Kat. Oh my goodness. Look at that. I've got two little dancing things. I love it. I just love it. All right, so this one's probably not going to have much of an impact. Economic relief related to COVID-19. So again, it looks like he's just, getting rid of the COVID stuff to start. Now, though, we're going to get into a few other pieces. So here's protecting the federal workforce, and he's revoked that, enabling all qualified Americans to serve their country in uniform. For some reason, he wanted to get rid of that, but again, it's only been there for a couple of years. Next up, reforming our incarceration system to eliminate the use of privately operated criminal detention facilities. And we all know that that is absolutely against what Mr. Trump would like. He's huge into privatizing everything and, looking for some kind of a deal or profit. So not surprising, literally straight for exactly right, VC, exactly. So next up, we've got President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, which he's revoked. Because why would you need science and technology? Information. Tackling the climate crisis at home and abroad. Yep, we knew that one was going to go too. Again, though, this is January 20th of 2021, so we've had it for less than 4 years. Strengthening Medicaid and Affordable Care Act. That's been revoked. Now, I do not have Biden's exact language here. Of course, he cannot accept or reject the Affordable Care Act or Medicaid. He doesn't have that kind of power. But there could be, a few band-aids put here and there in order to kind of cut through the red tape for certain situations. And that's most likely what that executive order did. And so Trump's just saying, nope, it's gone. So again, though, he cannot remove Affordable Care or Medicaid. He cannot make it less than the law that it already is. He could add more benefits to help, but he can't cause more harm because that's legislative branch there. All right. Next up, we've got creating a comprehensive regional framework to address the causes of migration, to manage migration through North and Central America, and to provide safe and orderly processing of asylum seekers at the United States border. So this one sounds like a headline too, right? So, but we knew that anything that was trying to actually help or resolve the issue regarding migration, which is what this was set up to do, a framework to address it, he's like, no, we're not doing that. We're just going to get rid of it. So that one's gone. Establishment of interagency task force on the reunification of families. Again, that is not Mr. Trump's priority, so we will not have that. These are the executive orders Mr. Trump has revoked. All right, that's why it says 2021 on it, because they're Biden's orders. And the media has taken this and has said he's revoked the Civil Rights Act. He's revoked the Equal Employment Act. He's revoked all of our civil rights because they're looking at these different executive orders that Biden had in place and seeing that Trump has revoked them. All right, so there you go. There you go. There's a clarification for you. And none of this is surprising, right? But I think it's important to know what he is revoking so that we don't get overwhelmed and think that he's going back into 1968 and pulling rights out of the legislature, because that's just not, he doesn't have that authority. All right, restoring faith in our legal immigration system, strengthening integration and inclusion efforts for new Americans. So, of course, immigrations, it's gone. Rebuilding and enhancing programs to resettle refugees and planning for the impact of climate change on migration. Right, I knew that would go. Establishment of the White House Office of Faith-Based and Neighborhood Partnerships. Now, I crossed this one out, but I remind everyone on this particular one that Mr. Trump had an executive order similar to this, actually, in his first administration. So there was something similar in place, so I wouldn't be surprised if he put something in place again that's similar to this. All right. Hello, Jaja. Good to see you. Oh, are the trolls out? Everyone, just get rid of them. They always find us. I know. I know it's okay. Yeah, you know, you don't have to troll. We're just talking over here. We're just talking. We're not troll baiting here. It was only a matter of time. I know, I know. It used to be quiet. Oh, I know. That's all right. All right, a tea break, and then we'll hop on here to look at the rest of these. And then I will start to go through some of the orders that have actually been passed that are relatively original. Again, relatively being the key. Here we go. Revocation of certain presidential actions. So right here, this is basically Biden revoking a bunch of Trump's executive orders. And again, it's the lazy way of doing it, where you just put out an executive order and then put a list of the previous president's executive orders and numbers and just saying they're revoked, like what we're seeing right here. So that's what this is. We've got, so in March, promoting access to voting. We don't want to promote that. That's because that's crazy town. Oh my gosh. And we've got establishment of the White House Gender Policy Council. Interesting, but nope. Guaranteeing an educational environment free from discrimination on the basis of sex, including sexual orientation or gender identity. So that's pulled. And again, reminding everybody, a friendly reminder, anything that has to do with the LGBTQIA plus community is going to be pulled. All right. That's what's going to happen. So there's no shock and awe here. We know it's happening. And anytime we're seeing anything talking about gender or orientation, it's going to get pulled. That doesn't mean the legislation is overturned. It just means that some of the language in the federal educational system will have to be changed quite a bit. Right, right. I'm sorry, I'm peeking here at the chat. All right, here we go. Back up. We're in it to win it, all right, everyone? So here's our next one. Termination of emergency with respect to the International Criminal Court. I'm not sure how that's going to be, harmful one way or the other, but whatever. April, establishment of the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States. And that makes sense. So there was this commission put together, and quite frankly, they've been there for 3.5 years. So that information is already there. So that's, I would say relatively harmless, especially when we have a congressional committee together on this as well. So a lot of people have their eyes on the Supreme Court. So this is not going to reduce that at all. Here we go. Establishment of the Climate Change Support Office. Right, a revocation of certain presidential actions and technical amendments. So again, this is Biden's kind of lazy road of just listing out multiple of Trump's executive orders. Next, climate-related financial risk. That's gone. Advancing equity, justice, and opportunity for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. And that's gone. And diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in the federal workforce. So again, keep in mind, we're not talking about state workplaces. We're talking about federal workplaces like the federal courthouse and various other bits and bobs. All right, so that's gone. Executive order here, strengthening American leadership in clean cars and trucks. So you probably have heard a lot about this one too, where he's like, oh, electric cars, blah, blah, blah. Or like, would I pick the shark or the battery? Something like that. So that's this. So if you're hearing that on the media, that's where that's coming from. September, amending executive order here. I'm not pulling that because, time is of the essence. Next, we have White House initiative on advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Hispanics. And that's gone. Executive Order October, White House initiative on advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunity for Native Americans and strengthening tribal colleges and universities. That's also gone. And I do have to note there are several executive orders that Biden had put forward regarding our indigenous brothers and sisters and have been removed. So this will also be a huge pattern when it comes to our indigenous populations, which I think a lot of people tend to forget about unless it's Thanksgiving or there's a huge rally about it. But every day there is something that could be done to assist or at least not make worse. I think I had read an article once that had said out of everyone in the United States, the one group that is the most discriminated against based off of certain factors are our indigenous populations. So they get hit really hard regularly, and a lot of people just don't even know it, unfortunately. All right, October, White House initiative on advancing educational equity, okay, and opportunities for Black Americans. So we're hitting all of the big ones today. Yeah, it's a really a huge deal. It's absolutely heartbreaking. So here we go. Next up, implementation of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Right, No More Jobs Act. Non-displacement of qualified workers under service contracts. All right, so there we go. Hope everybody that was covered voted for the person to not do that. Next, December, catalyzing clean energy industries and jobs through federal sustainability. So we're not doing that anymore. Again, it's an environmental piece. Environmental piece or any kind of group that is facing oppression and ongoing discrimination, gone. No more protections there. Establishing the United States Council on Transnational Organized Crime. Oh, that sounds really interesting. I guess he's getting rid of it. Anytime I see organized crime, though, I feel like we're kind of like we elected an organized crime situation. So, of course, they wouldn't want to have any RICO or organized criminal kind of investigation assistance because they could be found. You know what I mean? It's a bit like we're the mafia's running the show these days. I'm just putting that out there. That's my personal opinion. Here. I feel bad. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah. Oh, and we're just getting started here. All right. So lots of squirrels around, everyone. Forgive me. I apologize. So then it looks like he took a 3-month break. Biden did, or some of the orders aren't that important. Advancing economy efficiency and effectiveness in the federal contracting by promoting pay equity and transparency. Right. April 5th, continuing to strengthen Americans' access to affordable quality health coverage. So that, again, is just saying, the White House would like to strengthen your access. Like, what does that even mean? Really. Next, advancing effective accountable policing criminal justice practices to enhance public trust and publicity. That's a no-go no matter what you do, and that's not just because he's revoking it. I think that's it's not the best. All right, so here we go. We're continuing on, and again, these are the revocations that are hitting the media. So June, we have advancing equity for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex individuals. So that advancing equality is pulled. Again, how does the president or the federal government advance equality? That's the question. Implementation of the energy and infrastructure provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act. So he's pulling this piece that was added to that Inflation Reduction Act. If it's an act, that means it's passed by Congress. The only way to overturn an act is for Congress to revoke it or the Supreme Court to rule on a case to say it's unconstitutional. An act cannot be revoked by the president. That's not in his wheelhouse. All right, that's outside of his job. The next one, September, promoting the arts, the humanities, and museum and library services. So that's gone. Although technically, that's great, but not necessarily groundbreaking here. Next, lowering prescription drug costs for Americans. This is a big one, everyone. This is a big one. I've not pulled this executive order, but The language in this executive order was incredibly helpful. So pulling this particular executive order, I see no reason why that's in conflict with Republican values, but that's going to be a hit. Yeah, we're going to take a hit on that one. All right, tea time here. Yeah, it's a scary one. I agree. All right, December, establishing the President's Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement in the United States. Interesting, and gone. Further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. All right, also gone. The presidential memorandum. So here's a memorandum versus an executive order. Again, they may change the names on certain things, but this is really the only thing the president can do is revoke other presidents' stuff. All right, because he can't cross the line into other places. Here we go. Withdrawal of certain areas of United States Arctic coast of the outer continental shelf from oil or gas leasing. So this is going to be, we're going to take a hit on this one too, everybody. So that's an environmental piece that's going to be yikes. Here we go. Modernizing regulatory review. So I guess we don't need to use computers, carrier pigeons, get lined up. Revitalizing our nation's commitment to environmental justice for all. We don't like justice for all, so we're going to revoke that one. Oh my goodness. Moving beyond COVID-19 vaccination requirements for federal workers. Right? So that's only been up for like 18 months. Here, safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of artificial intelligence. Well, who wants that? Not me. I don't want any trustworthy business going on with robots. Oh my goodness gracious. Here we go. Imposing certain sanctions on persons undermining peace, security, and stability in the West Bank. And that's gone. White House initiative on advancing education, equity, excellence, and economic opportunity through Hispanic serving institutions. No more of that. Don't want that. And that was just last year, or 6 months ago, really. Well, all right, not that one. Providing an order of succession within the Department of Agriculture. So forget about that. We don't know who's going to take over. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, we're almost done. We're coming down to the one of the last pages here. Is there any post-it notes? Well, this one is just a constant explanation. I'm just going through the revoked executive orders. So January 3rd here, providing an order of succession within the Department of Homeland Security. Let me see here. Oh, right. And one of the things too that I thought would be interesting, everyone, is I know it's overwhelming, but these are things that we have only had for a couple of years. So they may still be in the beginning part, the first stages of trying to even put some of these things together. So we're not talking about, these civil privileges and rights from over the decades. We're talking about literally what Biden did through his office over the last couple of years. And that's pretty typical. But most people don't just come in and say, hey, we don't want to help people, except for Mr. Trump and his people. So, all right, providing an order of succession within the Department of Justice is gone. Order of succession within the Department of Treasury. So it looks like Biden was trying to kind of get some things organized here. Again, this is the order of succession for Office of Management and Budget. National Cyber Director here. Presidential memorandum, officials of the Council of Environmental Quality Act as chairman. So they're going through different positions for different people here. Well, let's see if the Treasury's on here. We've still got personnel management, Office of Science and Technology Policy here. Yeah, that's gone. Agency for Global Media to act as Chief Executive Officer. designation of officers of the United States international development. So, and here's another question too, everybody. So he's out there, and each one of these is a different executive order, right? But these are all crunched together into this one super piece. So if you go to each one of these agencies that's been January 3rd was when this was put into place. I mean, what's really the difference? So we've got January 3rd of this year was this executive order regarding the U.S. Agency for Global Media to act as chief executive officer. It was only put into place January 3rd, so it's only been a couple of weeks. So not much is really going to change for these people. Not that we're saying we like it or we don't, but I'm just, note the date on this here, everyone. Here we go. And then we're going to just continue on. We've got outer continental shelf here, withdrawal of certain areas here, January 6th. And here as well, looks like, all right, memorandum on the 14th. So just a couple weeks ago, all right, certification of the rescission of Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. So, again, but that's only been like 2 weeks ago. The president memorandum on revocation of national security, presidential memorandum, all right. Here in January the 26th, providing for the appointment of alumni and AmeriCorps to the competitive service. So again, these things, everyone, that we're looking at here are just have, some of them have just been put into place, and some of them have just been there for a couple of years. So the hits coming out of this particular one isn't that big, although I think a lot of people are kind of twisting it around to make it seem like, that's the end of equality. And I'm not saying it's not the end of equality, but I'm saying it's not because of this executive order. All right, does that make a bit more sense though? Now, so we can kind of have a better idea of what we're talking about. All right, so let's take a look here. Let me pull my packet out again. I gotta stay organized. If I don't stay organized, the world will go crazy. Hold on here a second. So we've got some other executive orders in here. So that was the big one when we're talking about equal rights and how that's hit the media quite a bit. Right. The title doesn't help. Well, each one of these titles, everyone, is meant to scare you. So there's no reason why we have to have things named like this other than to make you feel uncomfortable and unsafe. So there's that. All right. Probably the next biggest question. So one was on the civil rights, but the next big question is on closing the border, right? So we've got closing the border and emergency price relief for American families. So we kind of went through that a little bit. We also have nominations for this transmitted to the Senate, and protecting civil rights and merit-based opportunity by ending illegal DEI. So let's go ahead and how many he signed. No, I don't have that. None of these have any signatures. These are just from the news piece that I'm able to kind of cobble together here. Emergency price release. So relief, since this seemed to be one of the big election questions, should we go through this one? Let's take a gander. This one was set out yesterday, I think. Right. The 22nd. So this one was today. So here we go, everyone. Let me get a sticky note out here because I will label this one for everyone. So this is Trump executive order. Executive order, and we don't have a number on it because whoever's doing this isn't particularly organized. Let's just say, oh my gosh, let's see, we'll say presidential actions here. So, and presidential action, there we go. We've got that, at least a little bit. So I'll just kind of, it's gonna get a little different. Here we go. Here we go, presidential. All right, delivering emergency price relief or price relief. So this is the one where, everyone's like, oh, our stuff's too expensive. So let's take a look and see what he said in this presidential action. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed a presidential memorandum to deliver emergency price relief for the American families and defeat the cost of living crisis. So this language, that's going to really pull you in. But, then we have to look and see what he can actually do, which is really nothing. The presidential memorandum recognizes a critical component of the crushing cost of everyday living. The Biden administration imposed complex regulatory burdens and radical policies designed to weaken American production. So this is what we refer to as propaganda here. I'll just make a note. President Trump ordering all federal agencies to untangle the American economy from Biden constraints and improve affordability of necessary goods and services and increase the prosperity of the American workers. So this is the president's order, everybody, on reducing the cost of living. Now, let's just go through it one more time so we can understand what this order is here. President Trump is ordering all federal agencies, of which we know there's like hundreds, right? So like the IRS, the FBI, whatever, all of them to untangle the American economy, so the entire economy, from Biden constraints and improve affordability of necessary goods and services and increase the prosperity of the American workers. What does that even mean? This one's today, Kea. Yeah, this one was just today. Oh my gosh. Yeah, get right on that. What does that even mean? All right. Well, let's see. Let's go forward. So this includes action to drastically lower the cost of housing and expand housing supply. So here's my question. Do you think, everyone, that they're not trying to do this in the federal government under Biden? Were they not trying to lower the cost of housing? That's my question here. Like, who says I'm pro homelessness, right? So, all right, eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses and rent-seeking practices that drive up healthcare costs. Now, I'm not sure. We've got rent-seeking and healthcare. So, okay. Right. Exactly like the affordable medicine he just took away. Exactly right. All right. Eliminate counterproductive requirements, raising the cost of home appliances. All right, whatever that means. Create employment opportunities for American workers, including drawing discouraged workers into the labor force, and eliminate harmful, coercive climate policies, driving up the cost of food and fuel. This makes no sense. Who wrote this? Who wrote that? I'm just trying. I'm like, what? What's the order here? Eliminate unnecessary administrative expenses. I think that's great. And rent-seeking practices. What is that? That drive up healthcare costs. What healthcare costs? Like what? One of the ones that have partial time. Oh my gosh. I can't understand what this even means. Can you imagine you're an employee, right? And you're in the federal government and you're like, I'm supposed to create an employment opportunity? I'm just like a, third level clerk in the CIA office. Like, what? How am I supposed to do this? What are you talking about? Or the person that, takes the mail from office to office. Like, I don't know how I'm going to create employment opportunities. I'm just trying to, pay the bills. I am one of the rent-seeking people. Can you help me first? Oh my gosh, I'm not seeing the correlation. I know. All right, here we go. So yeah, and then of course go after the climate. We've got to go after the climate. After anyone who's marginalized and the climate. Those are our two big ones. Ending Biden's war on affordability. Okay, the Biden administration's destructive policies inflicted an historic inflation crisis on the American people. All right. All right. Hardworking families are overwhelmed today by the cost of fuel, food, housing, automobiles, medical care, utilities, and insurance. That is true, sir. That is absolutely true. Unprecedented regulatory oppression from the Biden administration. Holy buckets. The propaganda is getting laid on thick here, everybody. Thick. Right. Whereas President Trump's first term agenda reduced regulatory costs by almost 11,000 per. So is this just a talking point from his campaign? I think, like, why are you putting that in executive order? Let's read through this one more time. Unprecedented regulatory oppression from the Biden administration has imposed almost $50,000 in costs on the average American household. Whereas President Trump's first term agenda reduced regulatory costs by almost 11,000 per household. What? I think he, I don't remember seeing that 11K. Yeah. So this, I think, is just one of his, talking points. I don't see how that's anything new. Sounds like blah, blah, blah. It certainly does. Americans are unable to purchase homes at historic rates, in part due to regulatory requirements that alone account for 25% of the cost of constructing a new home. Where are you getting this information from? Biden's assault on plentiful and reliable American energy through impossible, unnecessary, and illegal regulatory demands have driven up the cost of transportation and manufacturing. He's lost me, everybody. I'm totally lost. Let's look at the title of this executive order. President Donald J. Trump delivers emergency price relief for American families to defeat the cost of living crisis. So how is this? Just help me out here. Americans are unable to purchase homes at historic rates, in part due to the regulatory requirements that alone account for 25% of the cost of constructing a new home. How does that sentence work as a delivery emergency situation? How does that sentence reduce my price of anything, my cost of living? It doesn't. Like, what are we even talking about? Let's keep that in mind. This is this executive order is supposed to reduce the cost of living, right? Biden's assault on plentiful and reliable American energy through impossible, right, unnecessary, illegal regulatory demands have driven up the cost of transportation and manufacturing. How is that defeating the cost of living, right? Biden's war on energy has been a war on American consumers. American households are paying an average of $1,200 more per year. I thought it was 50,000 more. I thought it was 50,000 more in energy costs under President Biden's policies. Since he took office, total energy costs rose by 36%. Gas rose by 41%. Home energy costs rose 30%. Electricity bills 29%, and gas bills 34%. Again, how does this defeat the cost of living crisis? I'm not sure. After averaging just 2.77 per gallon under President Trump and a price of 2.33 upon leaving his office because nobody was driving, right? The price of gasoline skyrocketed under President Biden when the pandemic was over, reaching 3.33 a year later. It went on to reach a peak at $5 per gallon and remains elevated today. All right. The unlawful regulatory mandate on companies to eliminate gas-powered vehicles has resulted in artificial price increases in order to subsidize electric vehicles, largely disfavored by consumers. So, all right, everybody. Oh my gosh. So I just finished this whole page. All right, this is the whole page of this. We did this, and then there's this whole page. Is there anything in this page that is a relief for American families from the cost of living crisis? Did I miss it? Did I miss it? I mean, it looks like the title's like, oh, that sounds great. Let's do that. But there's no plan of action. I mean, the only thing in here is just to say, here, it's ordering all federal agencies. So all federal agencies to untangle the American economy from Biden. And that is going to somehow defeat the cost of living crisis. And according to this title, this executive order is supposed to do that. Wow. Smoke, yeah. Yeah. Trump facts, yeah. You lost me at the cover page. All right. So, okay, everybody. So I think this is important for us to know. His titles are going to be very flashy, right? They're going to be very flashy, and all of his people are going to be like, look, he's already provided relief. But then when you read it, it's just an empty shell, and it looks like they're just cutting pieces out of his rally talks to me. That's what this looks like. This looks like something that he said during one of his rallies. Only read the headlines. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a problem because that's some false information that is, pretty significant. I read that and I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds great. I mean, I don't care who does it. Sign me up. And then I was reading it, I'm like, this does nothing. This literally does nothing at all. Nothing at all. Okay, so, yowzers. All right, let's take a peek here. Let's grab another one. Here's our fact sheet again. I want to make sure I keep this in the best order that I can, although that's not easy with this. Oh, here we go. How about declaring the national emergency? This is another one too that everyone's like, oh, we're in a national emergency, so you can send in the troops or whatever. And, all of us are like, that's not how that works. Has they scrambled? All right, well, we went through this. We went through that one. Now here's another one. I'm going to take a tea break for a moment. Department of Agriculture is going to lower housing costs. Exactly. I'm going to get rid of your problems by telling other people to look at your problems and then tell me about it. Like, what? Oh my goodness. All right. All right. By the way, as a quick side note, just so you know, I really do actually have a tri-corner hat, in case you're wondering. I made a post and I'm like, bring your hats, the tri-corner ones. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? All right, here we go. Fact sheet. So this is a presidential action. All right. I think it's important to note that. They might be labeled under different things here. Right, we're just explaining. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's take a look at this. President Donald J. Trump declares a national emergency at the southern border because that's never been thought of before. No one's ever been like, ooh, we should make this an emergency. All right, here we go. Sorry, everybody. Here we go. Invoking a national emergency. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed an executive order, which is not this. This is just kind of apparently a look over here, invoking the National Emergencies Act regarding the crisis at the southern border of the United States. So the National Emergencies Act, okay, let me just pull, no, I think we'll be okay. I think I've gone through the National Emergencies Act already. The executive order, again, they're calling it the executive order because this is a presidential action. This is not an executive order. This is an explanation of the executive order, of which I could not find. So it may be somewhere here. Here we go. So this is a summary. Declares a national emergency at the southern border following 4 years of record-shattering illegal immigration into the U.S. It directs the Secretary of Defense to deploy additional personnel to the border, including members of the armed forces and the National Guard. You gotta be careful here. When you bring in the military, we've got rules actually against that. Additionally, it directs the Secretaries of Defense and Homeland Security to finish the wall along the southern border and ensures that DHS has all the flexibility it needs to operate air missions near the border. Operate air missions? All right, whatever. Department of Homeland Security is supposed to be broken apart under P25, so I guess they better do it quick. Taking back control. Wow. Yikes. For the past 4 years, the federal government has abdicated its responsibility to enforce the border, resulting in a catastrophic immigration crisis for the United States. Whew, that propaganda is thick here. When states like Texas took steps to prevent illegal crossings in their state, The federal government sought to stop them by cutting down their barriers. I think that was like a basic human right issue, right? I mean, come on. Are you kidding me? All right, all right. Sorry. A record-shattering 8.72 million border encounters have occurred at the southern border from 21 to 24, overwhelming border resources and endangering communities. You know, if they were this, I'm going to say this, all right, everybody, I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to hold back. If they were this concerned, they need to give more money to the prisons where we have actual people convicted of serious crimes, and the prison staff and the facilities are inhumane. So all of this money here that they're sending to the border for alleged situations of people that we don't even know if they're committing crimes or not, like, let's send all this money there. But meanwhile, our prisons are overpopulated and our prison guards are underpaid and the facilities are inhumane. So I said it and I mean it. So don't talk to me about that. Like, priorities, people. I said it and I mean it. The crime is jumping the border. No, you can jump the border. What you can't do is not have person-to-person interaction involving paperwork. Yeah. Yeah. All right, all right. This has led to untold hundreds of thousands of children being trafficked. Roughly 550,000 unaccompanied alien children have been encountered at the border since 2021. Fentanyl and other drugs are pouring over the border and flooding our communities, killing roughly 75,000 Americans in 2023. So, what? All right. The number one cause of death for Americans between 18 and 45 is so fentanyl. All right, let's look and see. So this is what he's putting in his executive action. Fentanyl is the number one cause of death for Americans. And he has put this into national emergency at the southern border. So the emergency is the fentanyl deaths. Is that right? Because all the fentanyl's brought up from Mexico, which, as we know, is not true, right? Aliens have actually landed? Murray! How did that happen? We were looking. He forgot about it. Yeah, so that's pew pew. Well, right. I mean, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, brought by Americans. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. It's the Americans going down, getting it, bringing it back up. I mean, come on. Oh my gosh. It's coming from Canada too. Oh, well, that's it. Get the Mounties. We're done. Heart disease is the number one. That's what I thought too. Oh my gosh, Miss Julie, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, that can't be right. That cannot be right with that. Just released and pardoned the Silk Road jerk. Yeah, that's not good. All right. Moving forward here, everybody. All right. It has allowed dangerous gangs like the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua. I'm sorry, I can't tonight. To take over and terrorize entire American cities. Oh my gosh, that's a bologna sandwich. And it has led to the murders of innocent Americans like Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungare, Rachel Warren, and others. So he's just putting this into a presidential, declaration. Like, what? How is this doing that? This is supposed to be supporting the national emergency at the border. That's what this is supposed to be. We're supposed to be explaining why it's important to do a national emergency. Building on past success, America is in dire situation and it's past time for the government to act. President Trump first declared an emergency at the southern border on February 15th of 2019 and continued that emergency on February 13th of 2020, following the at the time historic surges. This was because, oh my gosh, all right. All right, of illegal aliens in 2018, President Trump declared a national emergency and successfully reduced the number of people seeking to enter the country illegally. I think that was also because of some pandemic issues, but what do I know? In 2024, President Trump, what? 2024? President Trump promised to declare an emergency to secure the border and use the military where necessary to protect Americans from foreign threats. This executive order again will allow the government to gain operational control of the border, combat the cartels and secure our nation. As President Trump described in 2018, illegal immigration affects the lives of all Americans. Illegal immigration hurts American workers, burdens American taxpayers, and undermines public safety, and places enormous strain on local schools, hospitals, and communities in general, taking precious resources away from the poorest of Americans. Really? Really? Is that true? Is that true? Because we were just talking about the prison system here. They are part of the poorest Americans who need them the most. Illegal immigration costs our country billions and billions of dollars each year, and I will therefore take every lawful action at my disposal to address this crisis. And that's what we're doing. Again, why is this in here explaining a national emergency? I don't hear national emergency in any of this language. Not only that, but the way our system works, you can ask the president for help because you've got a national emergency, because you've got an emergency because of flooding or something like that. But I don't even see how any of this would support a national emergency, right? I just don't see it. I don't see this at all. This language isn't even supporting what he's just saying here. This looks like this was just cut out of another one of his rally speeches. Yeah. The question is, what has to happen for his supporters to realize what's really happening? Great question, Michelle. And I keep thinking that too. I'm going through these executive orders and the media is splashing it all over the place. Equal rights are gone, the border's gone, we're putting people in buses and driving them back. This is a huge freaking deal. But then when you look at this and you look at this, he's declared a national emergency under his executive order. Did you read this? Because this is not saying or explaining or setting out any kind of facts or evidence or proof that there's a national emergency. Now, if you've got a national emergency, you need to explain why. You can't just, write it down and then just have it be there. Exactly, Jaja. The media is partially to blame. Quite a bit to blame here. Right, Navy vet. Invasion 14 times. Right. So it's oh my goodness. They read the headline and they ignore the rest. Exactly, everybody. Exactly. So don't get caught up. That's what I'm trying to say here too. All right. Don't get caught up because look, Trump is delivering emergency price relief for American families to defeat the cost of living crisis. Based off of that title, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy 2 dozen eggs, right? And I'm going to come back. It's going to be $50 and I'm done. That's my food for the week. Or two Barron's book report. I mean, two things of eggs. That's it. 2 dozen eggs. Oh my gosh, everyone. Oh, this is the shock and awe situation we all knew were coming. We all knew it was coming here. We knew it. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is another one. This is the other big civil rights piece that's been all over the media here. There's $7. Well, he just said, though, in his executive order, he was going to lower the price, the cost of living. Does that mean, is he a liar? Or I need to give him some time. I need to give him 40 years to get it sorted out. Oh, I know, everyone. When you pull the curtain back and when you understand the power that a president actually has, which is actually pretty limited, it really takes the sting out, I think. Just by egg beaters, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. All right, so here we go. Let's go into the civil rights issues that have been going on. So here's another one, just today, all right? So here's our fact sheet. President Donald J. Trump rights and merit-based opportunity by ending illegal DEI. So let's see how he's going to do that. Protecting civil rights and expanding individual opportunity. Today, again, I'm not sure how this is going about because I don't see the executive order. I just see this statement on the executive order. Today, President Donald J. Trump signed a historic executive order that protects the civil rights of all Americans and expands individual opportunity by terminating radical DEI preferencing in federal contracting and directing federal agencies to relentlessly combat private sector discrimination. It enforces long-standing federal statutes and faithfully advances the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality. That's nowhere in the Constitution. Before the law. This comprehensive order is the most important federal civil rights measure in decades. It terminates diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is what DEI is, discrimination in the federal workforce, and federal contracting and spending. Federal hiring, promotions, and performance reviews will award individual initiatives, skills, performance, and hard work, and not, under any circumstances, DEI-related factors, goals, policies, mandates, or requirements. I'm not sure they understand what the DEI situation is. I don't know about that. I think there might be some rare situations where, advancement was not appropriate, but that's just, case by case. But overall, like, dude, you can't just discriminate like that. No, you're not crazy. This is crazy. Who does that? Like who does that? Oh my gosh. Right, exactly. Oh my gosh. All right. The order requires OMB to streamline the federal contracting process to enhance speed and efficiency, reduce costs, and require federal contractors and subcontractors to comply with our civil rights laws. What the heck does that mean? Of course they're complying with civil rights laws, or else they're going to get sued. We actually have like civil rights lawsuit section just for this, a whole lot just for these people. It revokes Executive Order 11246, contracting criteria mandating affirmative action. By the way, affirmative action's gone thanks to the U.S. Supreme Court in their case last year. It bars the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs from pushing contractors to balance their workforce based on race, sex, gender identity, sexual preference, or religion. This is when, how do you know someone's not actually working in the workforce without saying it? This is how, because you think this stuff actually happens. Exactly. I mean, come on. This must be like what they really think happens because they're so removed from actual jobs. Automated message approving the authority of banning this creator. What? Wait a minute. Who's that? Thank you, Swiffy Sarah. If you can delete some of these people, I don't know if you can only pause them. Yeah, I got it. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it. So, you guys do have the power, though, to completely block, right? Trolls are getting creative. I removed them. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. I know you're definitely working hard tonight. Working hard. Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say that's not really how YouTube communicates with me. You can only remove. Right. All right. So you can pause though, right? Can you mute them and then get rid of them or just remove them? Yeah, we can hide their comments. Yep. Got it. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for your hard work. All right, we'll jump back in. We can do both. We love it. Oh, so grateful. All right. So all of this stuff here, you could get sued over. So I don't know why you'd want to do it anyway. Require simple and unmistakable affirmation that contractors will not engage in illegal discrimination, including illegal DEI. This sentence is directly out of P25. It directs all departments and agencies to take strong actions to end private sector DEI discrimination, including civil compliance investigations. So, all right, it mandates that the Attorney General and Secretary of Education issued joint guidance regarding the measures and practices required to comply with the Supreme Court's decisions in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard. And this was that case that removed affirmative action that I was talking about there. Restoring the values of individual dignity, hard work, and excellence. So here we go. Individual dignity, hard work, and excellence are fundamental to American greatness. This executive order reaffirms these values by ending the Biden-Harris administration's anti-constitutional and deeply demeaning equity mandates. So this again is what I would call propaganda. Terminating DEI and protecting civil rights. Reversing the progress made in the decades since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So I think this is also where we're getting those buzzwords in the media. Towards a colorblind and competence-based workplace. Radical DEI has dangerously tainted many of our critical businesses and influential institutions, including the federal government. In the private sector, many corporations and universities use DEI. Actually, they don't, as an excuse for biased and unlawful employment practices and illegal admissions preferences, ignoring the fact that DEI's foundational rhetoric and ideas foster intergroup hostility and authoritarianism. That's not true. None of that is true. That was very aggressive. Like this, that's not, dude. Oh my goodness. Billions of dollars are spent annually on DEI. Do you have proof of that? But rather than reducing bias and promoting inclusion, what? DEI creates and then amplifies prejudicial hostility and exacerbates interpersonal conflict. Again, hello P25. That is almost verbatim out of that. Yikes. President Trump promised and delivered. President Trump promised to terminate DEI in the federal government, protect equal opportunity, all right, and force schools to end discriminatory admissions policies, which the Supreme Court already did, and he delivered. Every man and woman should have an opportunity to go as far as their hard work, individual initiative, and competence can take them. In America, excellence, grit, and determination is our strength. And then I could say something, but I'm not going to. So again, let's look at the title here. Rights and Merit-Based Opportunities by Ending Illegal DEI. So I think this one, out of the few that we've read tonight, at least talks about DEI. But again, I don't see any support. Rights and merit-based. Like, you can't tell somebody how your rights are supposed to work and merit-based opportunity. Like, if you're hiring someone, your rights are set out. Like, you can't just eliminate equal opportunity for getting a job. He knows nothing of grit. True story. Right, yeah. So, how's their account from the chat? Perfect to sell. Right, so again, this again sounds like a piece from one of his speeches, and they plugged it into executive order like language here. I'm not sure. It's not. That's the other thing too, though, is you might think, whoa, this is illegal. But let me ask you this, everybody. All right, let's just clarify this for a minute. Oh, thank you so much, Kat. Oh my gosh, yeah, wrecked. Oh, I feel that. All right, let me ask you this. So he's basically saying here that revoking any kind of affirmative action, right? So tell me exactly how you're going to know that an employer is using affirmative action in order to pick the best candidate. Is it because you aren't picking the best candidate? So this is something that always drives me crazy. When we have a merit situation, all right? So we have a merit situation, and we have one person that has assets that are great and another person with assets that are great, and one of them is not a protected group and the other is a protected group. So the person choosing might feel that, there are additional pieces here and additional pieces here, and they like these pieces better. So does that mean then we've got affirmative action, or do we have someone appealing more to the person that's interviewing them? Like, how do you even prove that? that's one of the things that drives me crazy is if you go in and you ask this person, well, why did you choose this guy instead of this guy? And they just say, well, I thought they were more qualified and they did a better job during an interview. Or are they going to say, well, because I'm forced to choose a protected class because of some law that I think exists that doesn't actually exist? Because I was forced to do it. So I only chose them because they were a woman or some other kind of group of people. Who says that? Who says that? Right? Like, I want to know. I want to know how it is that they're going to come in to these employers and say, you use affirmative action, that's illegal now. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, there has to be some proof. There has to be some proof. And with all things equal, it's up to the person who's in charge of recruitment. And this is one of the things that came out in Harvard's statement after that case was passed, where they said, you know, we're not using affirmative action as some way of letting people cheat to get in or giving them an easy route to come in. We're using it because we've found that diversity in our student body creates a better learning environment and people learn more. And so that's what we do. So kind of keep that in your mind too. Yeah, it's a cop out and it's offensive, right? There are some businesses that have done this, that have done specifically, you know, if I hire this person, then I have to hire another person. Well, perhaps, but I don't think they're going to want to talk about that to an attorney when they get sued. That's bad business for discriminating practice. Yeah, he is bitter, I think. People file complaints if they think they didn't get a job. Exactly right. So again, in a quick side note, everyone, just to help you know, and I'm going to speak just particularly about women. All right, when we say women need to be treated equal, comes from a case called Craig v. Boren, if I remember correctly, and it has to do with a guy where we had laws saying you had to be, I think, 21 to drink, and a gal could only need to be 18. So the guy sued and said, I want to be able to drink alcohol at 18, just like the gals. And the court had said, well, women are more responsible, and we've got less problems with women at 18 drinking than with guys who are drinking at 18. So we're not going to do that. And the U.S. Supreme Court came back and said, well, that's discrimination. So the most impactful discrimination suit regarding women in the United States has to do with a fella who wanted to drink at 18. All right. Now we've got another case involving a nursing school, and I cannot remember the name of it, where it was an all-female school, and there was a dude that wanted to come in and be a nurse, and they wouldn't let him. So he I cannot remember the name of this. So he took it in front of the U.S. Supreme Court and said, I'm a dude, I want to go to the school, you're discriminating against me. And they said, you're right. Dudes need to be allowed in. This is what basically set out that women could not be excluded from places. So even though it was a guy, it took a guy being discriminated against to get it in front of the Supreme Court. And then eventually, after this case was decided, they're like, you're right. You know, it shouldn't be based off of gender. And so women started going to all the schools they wanted to go to. So two of the biggest cases, and I think this one was actually argued by Ginsburg, come to think of it. I think it was. She was involved in this case. Huge. But that's what it took, right? All right. So we go up and then we take a look and they're like, no, you can't discriminate. And then we go back down and say, okay, that applies to girls too. I know, right? So again, if we're in this situation where they're saying, well, one's a guy and one's a gal and one's a guy, you just ask them, why did you choose them? But the issue becomes when a third party is looking at the merits. They're saying, well, I would have hired this person and not this person. So it must be because you, the chooser, is somehow doing DEI. because a third party looks in and says, wow, they've got more higher grades, they've got higher whatever it is. And it's like, you're the third party. You're not supposed to be making the merit decision. So it's, yeah. Thanks for sharing those. Yeah, gosh, I can't remember. It's going to drive me crazy if I can't. Hold on, let me pull up that case. Let me see here. Nursing school. Yeah, okay. Which one? Okay, let me see. Here we go. Let me see if this, where's the name of it? Hold on. Supreme Court case. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. It's the Hogan case. All right. It's the Hogan case out of 1982, and then the Davis case. Davis out of 1979. 1979. What is this? 182 I just wrote. I'm so sorry, everybody. 1982. This is the one with Ginsburg. It's the Hogan case. All right, there we go. I feel better now. I was having some problems. I was feeling uncertain here. I couldn't remember the name. There, we got it. Exactly. Bruce Wayne's mother. That's exactly the thing. Is how could you prove that? The only way to really take it down that road is to get a third person to come in and say, well, who would you have picked? Like that's another situation at hand with that. When Hogan was decided, I love it. Oh, that's great. Yeah, these are great cases. The Hogan case and the Craig case are both huge. Well, and Davis is important too, but these are the two cases that I was telling about tonight. Yeah, is this going to be on the exam? No, Murray, it's not. You don't have to remember the case names. Just what the case was about. You know how many times I've been asked that question? Like a million, a bajillion times. Do we have to know the case name? Like, well, it does help. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right. Well, now looking at the clock, my friends, I see that we've done our 90 minutes. Can you believe it? The time goes so fast. I feel like I have so many things I need to say. But then I'm like, my time is up, my friends. It's time to pack your bags. So with that, we've come to the end of our broadcast here, everyone. I have to show you this one executive order, though, or presidential action that I will be going through. Now, again, I'm planning to come on each day if I can. Just look for my note in the community tab where I've been able to write in there if I'm going to go or not. But I'm going to try to come on at least to do a couple of executive order explanations. But look at the name of this one, Putting People Over Fish. Stopping radical environmentalism to provide water to Southern California. People over fish, everybody. We've got people over fish. I can't. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you so much. People are fish, I know. It says people over fish. They're more important than fish. I know. Yes, so I will be back hopefully tomorrow, as long as all the stars align. If not, double check that community tab, everybody. That's where I put out and say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and go on tonight, and let you know that way. So check that one out. Their story isn't even true. Oh, no, not the fish. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about the carp czar. And we got into this argument because he's like, we don't want the carps. And I thought the carp czar was supposed to be saving the carps. But I was wrong. I looked it up. The carp czar is trying to get rid of them. Well, that's a weird story, but that's the conversations that we have in my house. Look it up. The carp czar. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you all for coming by and joining me. It's a pleasure as always. Hope to be back again about this time tomorrow. So take care, everybody, and have a good night.